Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're going on a really long, winding journey into the life of a scientist named Abraham Norton Perina. A brilliant man, but,
Yeah.
well, a complicated, often monstrous one.
Right. And the way we're going to do this is it's not through court documents or anything like that. Our whole perspective comes from the raw personal memories of his closest companion, his collaborator.
Written while Norton himself is in confinement.
Exactly. So the story is framed by this profound sense of loneliness. It's really a story told to justify, to explain a life.
Yeah, and we're starting right there in the present with the narrator.
Mm-hmm.
Because their entire world is now defined by Norton's absence.
Look, a huge shadow. We're 16 months after the sentence was handed down, and the narrator just opens with this feeling of emotional drain.
After what, nearly 3 decades of being basically inseparable.
Constant contact. They were only apart for the odd funeral or wedding, and even then, they were on the phone every single day.
So this wasn't just a friendship. For the narrator, Norton was a fundamental part of their daily rhythm.
He was. The narrator compares it to watching TV or reading the newspaper.
Yeah.
It was this ritual that provided reassurance that life was, and I'm quoting here, progressing as expected.
And when that's gone,
It's a complete unmooring, that's the word used, a deep, persistent melancholy that's lasted for a year and a half.
and you get this very vivid picture of the narrator's nights.
Yeah, delaying sleep, just wandering the apartment, searching for something they've forgotten.
Only to realize, right, that what's missing is the pattern itself. The whole structure of life has changed.
Mm-hmm. And it's into this emotional vacuum that the outside world sort of intrudes.
Through this character, Herbert West.
Right, a former research fellow. He visits Norton while he's under house arrest in Bethesda. And this is a really low point. This is after all of Norton's adopted children have been taken away.
And West says something just incredibly cruel,
He does. He suggests that Norton should be grateful for how lenient his confinement is.
which the narrator just sees as completely obtuse. It's so out of touch with the reality of what Norton was going through.
The whole scene is awful. Wes invites the narrator to dinner right there in front of Norton, who can't even leave the house.
And Norton, of course, insists they go.
He does. And at dinner, Wes just drops this line over dessert. He says, "Norton's aged a great deal."
Wow. Just a brutal observation of the toll it's all taken.
It is. But this whole period, this degradation, it actually leads to the project itself, to the memoirs we're drawing from.
Oh, right. He'd been planning to write them years before, back in '95.
Yeah, before the arrest. But now, 2 months into his sentence, the narrator brings the idea back.
And the purpose is very specific. It's not about history.
No, not really. It's about letting Norton prove to anyone interested that he was not what the world had been so eager to make him.
So it's his final stand, really. A chance to control his own narrative.
With the narrator as his filter, his typist, his editor, that's the frame for everything we're about to get into.
Okay, so to understand the man he's trying to defend, we have to go all the way back to his childhood.
We do. The chronicle starts with the family home, 100 acres, a house that's always sagging a bit.
And this staircase.
The staircase. It's this massive, architecturally bizarre centerpiece. It was meant to be grand, but it's just been ruined.
By termites.
By generations of termites, they've turned it into this lacy, crumbling ruin. It's such a potent image, this grand ambition just being, eaten away from the inside.
And the nature around the house is just as unpredictable. There's
Yeah.
this creek.
Yes. Most of the year, it's nothing. It's small, slow, forgettable. But every spring, every March or April,
It transforms.
completely, it becomes this merciless, roaring river. It snatches these little bloodroot blossoms. It grounds minnows. It's this early lesson for Norton, I think, about the violent power hiding just beneath a calm surface.
And then there's his mother.
His mother,
Who was
described in these incredibly, vague terms.
vague, drifty, maybe even stupid,
Yeah.
but also impossibly beautiful.
Right. And her beauty is confirmed by a photograph his brother Owen has. She had this long, white, sort of startled face that was ahead of her times. It promised an intelligence that apparently never showed up.
She came from a poor background in Nebraska, and his father, he just married her for her looks.
Which was a huge disappointment for the adolescent Norton. It taught him, not to expect anything from his parents. She died young, stumbling over simple words like exemplary.
And her death is his first real encounter with loss. It's July 1933.
And his father is just so calm about it. He just says, your mother's dead, slaps his hands together once like a final concluding gesture, and walks off.
Leaving him with the doctor, John Naples.
John Naples, the first real antagonist in the story. A bitter, angry man who tries to give this harsh and erroneous explanation for her death.
But that moment, as cruel as it is also a turning point for Norton.
It is. It's his first real glimpse into the puzzle of disease. He has this realization that language, the thing his mother struggled with, is just, it's contrived. It has no real secrets.
But science does.
Science, and specifically disease, is full of delicious secrets, dark, oily pockets of mystery that exist completely separate from humanity.
And John Naples, with his focus on the patient instead of the pathology, becomes this cautionary tale, a weak mind.
Exactly. The real cause of death comes from his Aunt Sybil, an aneurysm, a soft, sudden explosion.
And Sybil's note says, she had a good death. She was lucky.
Which fits with Norton's later reflection on it, that for his mother, who was such a dreamer with so few ties to life, death was actually a kind of kindness she'd been preparing to leave all along.
This Aunt Sybil sounds like a really important figure.
Oh, hugely. She was a doctor herself, and she'd visit every summer, and she had this knack for giving the perfect gift.
Frivolous things for the mother, something whimsical for the father.
And books and puzzles for his brother Owen. She was very precise.
But what was her take on the mother, as this ambitious professional woman looking at her sister-in-law?
It was conflicted. The narrator says she felt both pity and envy. She pitied the simple, unambitious life,
but envied the contentment that came with it.
Right. It's that classic tension. But it's clear which side Sybil was on, especially when it came to Norton. She saw something in him.
And she gave him a book.
When he was 11, she gave him the lives of the great scientists. And even though it was crudely written, it was transformative for him.
Because it wasn't just about the science.
Exactly. It was about the personalities, the drive, the ambition, the eccentricities. It confirmed for Norton that he admired and wanted to be part of a certain sort of mind that turns to science.
It locked him in. This was his path.
That was it. He wanted to be a player.
So he gets to medical school in 1946, ready to become one of these great scientific personalities.
And he finds a world that's, well, it's exactly as competitive as you'd expect. He divides his peers into two camps.
The dull memorizers and the grasping status seekers.
Right. And he's not really either. He's not a diligent student in the classic sense. He's more intellectually curious, still collecting beetles on the side.
His real education is happening in the lab.
In the lab, working under these junior residents who are already sort of trapped in this fraternity of science.
Men like Parton, Nesser, Oliver, Curtis.
Yes, the Turks, as he calls them. The aspiring solemn ones, secretly preening in their lab coats.
And what's the actual work they're doing?
It's incredibly mundane. They're just infecting mice with viruses day in and day out, hoping to cause cancer.
There's no real intellectual engagement there?
None. He starts writing these absurd notes in his logbook, like personality, dull for one of the mice.
And this routine has a very grim endpoint.
It does. They have to kill the mice. Oliver teaches him the technique. Twirl it by the tail till it's dizzy. Then a quick pull, a little crick.
And he describes this act, killing them in batches, as a small, real accomplishment.
Which tells you everything about how meaningless the rest of the day felt. It was a way to mark time.
So in this lab, you have to trade your independence for a place in the group.
Absolutely. Your ambition isn't your own. It's all about hoping you make the discovery so that the director gives you the credit. It's a very insular, competitive world.
And after 6 months of this, he finally gets his big chance. An audience with the director, Dr. Smythe.
Dr. Smythe, yeah. The man he's only seen in magazines looking tidy and upright. This dinner is supposed to be his moment.
But the setting itself is a red flag.
It is. The house is this tall, narrow, eccentric brownstone. The plants outside don't match, and the inside is just a mess.
A Japanese tansu next to an English desk.
Dusty rugs, these weird shadowbox frames with lockets and scrimshaw. It feels, he says, like a low-grade estate sale. There's no echo of a great man there.
And the dinner conversation is just as disappointing.
It's a disaster. It's just the two of them, and Smythe just talks and talks, making even his own life's work sound intensely uninteresting.
And he won't even discuss the science, Willie. He won't talk about viral mutation.
No, he's completely obsessed with something else, all the people who ever got in his way.
The dean. The associate dean.
And he details, with this weird jolly tone, how they were all humbled in the end. He's not angry, but he is completely consumed by these ancient slights.
This is when Norton starts to get really suspicious.
He starts questioning everything. Is this guy an imposter? Is this even his house? He starts to feel like an anthropologist in my own town.
He's just studying this bizarre specimen of a failed great man.
Exactly. And then the night ends just abruptly. Smythe fires him, calls him inappropriate.
But Norton's reaction isn't what you'd expect. He's not devastated.
No, he feels this shaky joy. He's been released. He's been told he will never become one of them, and it's a relief.
It's a huge lesson for him. He vows not to end up like Smythe, living this life defined by old grudges.
Right. He spends the next year just quietly going to class, learning a kind of humility, learning not to make himself seem more important than he was.
But that quiet period ends. Medical school is no longer a secure path for him.
It isn't. But then he gets an assignment. Through Dr. Sereny, the very man he thought hated him, he's to join Paul Tallant's project on an island called Uivu.
And how do his peers react to this? The Turks.
They see it as a complete professional death sentence, a humiliating punishment, proof that he's unacceptable.
But for Norton, it's freedom.
It is. He starts packing weeks early, gathering all the wrong tools, a spirometer, a microscope.
The things he'll end up just leaving scattered in the jungle.
Exactly. He has no idea what he's getting into. He looks up Uivu in an atlas. 3 tiny green specks east of Tahiti.
And the lore is fantastic.
It is. Never colonized. The people are of Polynesian origin, and there's this tradition where boys have to kill a wild boar before they turn 14.
And Captain Cook avoided the island.
He did in 1787. He was put off by the fierceness of the Weevuans. It all sounds like something out of a storybook.
So the departure day comes. He says goodbye to his brother Owen.
It's a brusque, kind of unsatisfying goodbye. Owen agrees to store his winter coat and his books.
And there's this flash of realization for Norton.
Yeah, that Owen is the only person left who remembers his entire life up to that point. But he dismisses it almost immediately. He's too eager for his new existence. He feels like his old life was just a long rehearsal for this.
And on the flight to Hawaii, he meets Paul Tallant, and his insecurity just goes into overdrive.
Oh, completely. Talent is this picture of human perfection, dark gold skin, this lupine effect.
And Norton is immediately cataloging his own flaws against that.
His flowery skin, bunchy knees. He feels it's cruel that Talent exists as this perfect mirror, forcing him to see his own deficiencies.
Then in Hawaii, he gets a real warning about Uivu.
From a bartender, of all people, a man missing his left thumb. He just says, good hunters, boars. Scary, they're very violent there.
Which only adds to the myth.
It does. And then he goes to the library and finds this old Hawaiian language primer from 1871 with these woodcut illustrations of the island.
A beady-eyed boar, a fat, smiling king.
It just makes Uivu seem even more fantastical. And then he finally meets the rest of the team.
Talon is there, and he introduces Esme Duff.
Esme Duff, the real Uivu expert. She speaks the language better than anyone. She arranged for the guides, the whole deal.
And Norton's reaction is immediate and hostile.
He makes 2 promises to himself right then and there. First, he will hate Esme. And second, within months, he will be the expert.
It's pure professional jealousy. He can't stand that someone, especially a woman, might know more than him.
It sets the dynamic for the entire expedition.
So they finally arrive on Uivu. What are the first impressions?
It's a sensory assault. They're on these small horses led by a guide named Pava. Norton asks about missionaries.
And Esme answers.
She does. Most of them died in a tsunami in 1873, and the rest just gave up and left.
But Talent adds a crucial piece of context.
Right. He says the churches they built weren't a sign of genuine conversion. The Uivans just enjoyed the novelty of it all. Even the king thought it was funny.
So the missionaries completely misread the situation.
They mistook curiosity for devotion.
And that first night in the hut, it's not pleasant.
No, it's stifling. The only moisture is from his own sweat. He can't sleep. He's just staring at the ceiling, worried.
And then the trek into the jungle begins.
There's no path. The guides are literally pushing saplings out of the way, and the jungle just swallows them up. The point where they enter disappears almost instantly. The air is just thick with the sounds of animals.
At their first camp, the food is memorable.
Crackers and Spam. He describes the Spam as slimy, nauseous, feminine pink.
And you can already see the strain of the journey on Esme and Talent.
Yeah, Esme's face is all splotchy and red from the effort. And that night, Talent tells the story that will define the whole trip.
The creation myth.
The story of Ivu Ivu, the water god, and Akka, the sun god, and how they were connected by Opa-Iviki.
The turtle messenger.
Exactly. And Talent tells it perfectly. He's mastered the rhythm, the pauses, but it's the end of the story that matters.
The curse of Manuik.
Manuik eats the turtle without sacrificing to the gods, and he's punished. He gets eternal life, but it's a horrible, declining one. After he turns 60, he loses his humanity, forgets who he is, and becomes a banished, wandering monster.
A mokuo.
A creature of nightmare. And Norton feels this cold shiver go down his spine.
He realizes that's why they're here.
Yes. Talent isn't just doing anthropology, he's hunting a myth. He wants to find a real moqua and prove this fable is true. And for Norton, the scientist, this makes the whole quest feel tinny and cheap.
So the trek continues, and the jungle starts to have this overwhelming effect.
It does. A few days in, one of the guides, Uva, stops him, climbs a tree, and comes back with this little monkey, a waka.
And the description is incredible.
It's trembling with silky pale gold fur. Its face is a wrinkled black heart, and its eyes are blankly blue as a blind kitten's.
And Norton feels this profound pity for it.
He does, because he knows it's going to be killed and eaten. But he says nothing. He doesn't want Talon to think he's weak or sentimental.
And that internal conflict between pity and detachment seems to be a recurring pattern for him.
It really is. At the same time, the jungle itself is starting to wear on him. The sheer amount of green.
He's afraid he's going to lose the ability to see any other color.
Exactly. He finds himself staring at the crimson loincloth of another guide, Feva, just to fix the color red in his mind. The environment is just... it's too much.
And this sensory overload seems to bleed into his conflict with Esme.
Oh, it boils over. He confronts her about her bathroom habits in the jungle. Your waist, he says, I nearly stepped in it.
And the physical revulsion he feels is just, it's off the charts.
When he grabs her shoulder, he describes her flesh as repulsive, a quaking blancmange. The next morning, he's disgusted by what he perceives as the scent of menstrual blood around her, associating her with oozing liquids.
This is more than just professional rivalry. This is a deep, visceral disgust.
It is, and you have to ask, given this is coming from Norton's companion, how much of his perception of Esme is just pure biased hostility? She's supposed to be the expert here.
But he's framing her as this repulsive, unhygienic object. It completely undermines her authority in the narrative he's building.
And it casts a shadow over everything else. He's already decided she's the enemy.
So finally they reach their destination, the Manama boundary.
Falai leads them there. The entire forest changes. It's now exclusively these manama trees. Their bark is like scales, and they weep this jammy sap.
And the air smells wrong.
Faintly of something human and unclean.
And then there's the fruit.
The manama fruit, which is just grotesque.
Priapic, 18 inches long, this sugary pink color, and it's moving. You can see bulges under the skin.
Which are worms. Hunono worms.
Worms that the guides just tear off and eat. It's the scene of grotesque life and sustenance.
And it's here that they find her.
Through the trees, they spot the creature, the one Talent was looking for. Norton calls her Eve.
And she's a woman.
Yeah.
Small, maybe 4 feet tall.
With drooping teats, a hard, round stomach, and she's covered in this dense, matted tangle of hair, leaves, dirt, and fruit and excrement. The reaction from the guide, Phelan, is just horror.
He hisses and shrinks behind a tree. When Talent gets closer, Eve starts to shriek. It's this horrible arrhythmic sound, from a growl to a squeal.
But then it stops.
It stops, and she just starts lapping at the manama fruit, worms dangling from her mouth like cilia. Talent speaks to her in Yu-Eve-1. Hello, who are you?
And she follows them.
She just follows them down the hill, her mouth in this weird jack-o'-lantern grin, showing these sharp, bony teeth. She's the myth. She's the mokuao, but she's just pathetic.
So Norton, the scientist, immediately starts his examinations.
He does. He's all business. She's 52 inches tall, cobby, solid. Her nipples are like calcified warts. But when he tries a vaginal exam...
she just explodes. Violent, extravagant screaming and thrashing. He has to stop.
So he uses the guides Fa'a to Uva as a control group. And they seem perfectly healthy, robust, except for one thing.
Their vision is terrible.
Surprisingly poor. And this is what leads to his first big mistake.
He assumes they're all about the same age as Eve.
Right. 60, give or take. He only realizes he's wrong when he compares their vision. But Fa confirms Eve's identity. He points out the Opa Ivlek mark on her neck.
The turtle mark.
The mark of the sacred turtle. And the other people they find with Eve, Norton gives them a name.
The Dreamers.
Because they have this dopey half glaze of clarity. they drool, they seem to be moving through a thick fog. Physically, they're fine, but neurologically, they're compromised.
And one of them, Mua, is coherent enough to tell a story.
He is. And it's this incredibly violent story about his great-grandmother having a god inside her, a stone baby in the shape of a turtle, which a shaman shattered. His grandfather was burned alive by villagers. His father escaped.
Rescued by a great sea turtle.
Yes. It just reinforces that the turtle is not just an animal here. It's a divine, powerful, and very dangerous being.
Norton then turns his attention to the main village, a community of 66 people.
And the first thing he notices is that there are no old people anywhere. And then he witnesses a ritual, the Ainina ceremony.
Performed on a young boy, about 8 years old.
The chief, who is naked and majestic, administers it. He rubs the boy with fat from a dish, and the act is, well, it's described as sodomizing, but he notes it did not appear to be in any way vicious. Then other men and older boys repeat the act.
And this creates a huge conflict between him and Esme.
A massive one. The chief gives this explanation that it's about teaching lovemaking and channeling aggression. And Norton, embracing this new idea of cultural relativism, finds it perfectly reasonable.
While Esme is understandably horrified.
She's sobbing in her mat. She says it's by its very nature violent. And this is a turning point for Norton. He decides that all morals, even something like murder, are just cultural constructs. There were no absolutes.
Which is a very dangerous conclusion for a man like him to reach. It gives him permission to do anything.
It does. He also takes note of the village layout. 13 sleeping huts, 9 in a second ring. And one of those 9 huts is different.
The one decorated with a polished turtle shell.
Double draped, a wider mat. It's clearly important. A secret hidden in plain sight.
And he's impressed by the village's efficiency.
He is. The women are proud of their stores. They don't have Western chores like laundry or house cleaning. The men hunt every day.
But their attitude towards animals is harsh.
Completely unsentimental. A captured sloth is beaten to death with unnecessary avidity, but at the same time, they're very sentimental about their own short lives, which they fill with all these rituals.
Which brings us to the most important ritual of all, the Vaka'ina, the turtle feast.
The chief appears, oiled and majestic, and then they bring out the turtle.
The Opiyuek. And it's small, but it has this presence.
It does, a glossy green squared carapace. And its eyes are described as having an expressiveness, a look of wisdom and fortitude.
The sacrifice is sudden and brutal.
The chief lets out this terrifying, gleeful cry and brings his spear down. The turtle's head bounces right into the narrator's lap. The black eyes are just staring up.
And the feast itself is, it's not communal.
No, it's a solo performance. The chief laboriously dismembers the turtle, rips the shell off with this upsettingly juicy sound, and he eats everything.
The meat, the cartilage, even the brain, which he heats up in the skull.
Only one other person gets a piece. An advisor, who is given the liver.
And Esme is just disgusted by the whole bizarre ceremony. But Norton is fascinated. He realizes the secret of the turtle is for the individual, not the group.
So he knows he has to find out why. He pulls Mua, the dreamer, aside.
And Mua tells him everything.
He confirms it. Only the people who live to be 60 years old get to eat the turtle. Because they're special. It makes the gods happy and it grants them eternal life.
Like they promised.
But then he also confirms the curse. If you touch a turtle before you're 60, you doom a family member to become a mokuo. You cause them to lose their ama.
Their soul, their reason, their self.
Exactly. Mua says he's 104 years old. He says all the dreamers ate the turtle at their ceremonies.
And it all clicks into place for Norton. The eternal life is real, but the price is the slow, degenerative curse. The myth and the science are the same thing.
The dreamers are the successful ones. They got their longevity, but they became the very monsters from the fable.
And the chief, who just ate the turtle.
He has just started down that same path. And the secret of the 9th hut is revealed.
It's where the chief keeps the man who initiated him in the Ainina.
Yes. Lawaki's father. He ate the turtle at his own Vaka'ina and is now a mindless, captive moku'ao being cared for by the very man he once initiated. It's a perfect, horrifying circle.
Talent is thrilled. The myth is real. He wants to find another turtle.
But Mua warns him again. You can't touch one before you're 60 or the curse falls on your family.
And Norton, despite everything he's just learned, decides he needs to test this for himself, biologically.
He decides to break the deepest taboo on the island, a complete betrayal.
He sneaks out at night with Talon's flashlight, finds the turtle lake.
and starts the long, difficult process of cutting off a turtle's foot. It's just this cold, calculated scientific violation.
But he's seen.
He is. Fa, the guide, sees him. He runs toward him, shouting, just absolutely devastated. He knows what this means. A curse has been incurred.
So Norton gets back to camp with the turtle foot, but then he hesitates.
He can't bring himself to eat it. He's paralyzed by the conflict. If he eats it, and it works, he confirms the material scientific world. If he doesn't, he's admitting the myth, the curse, is real.
He's afraid he'll become one of them.
He fears joining the dreamers. So he buries the meat. He stops just short of the final step, but the damage is done. Mua forgets it happened, but Fa is now stained by the knowledge of what Norton did.
So the expedition ends. Talent announces they're leaving.
And the return of linear, civilized time is a shock to Norton. He'd gotten used to the rhythm of the island.
They have to choose which dreamers to take with them.
They do. They take Mua and a few others. The rest, they tie them loosely to a tree with some spam and worms. Norton recalls it feeling like a kindness at the time.
That's a haunting image. Their gentle acquiescence.
It is. And returning to the United States is a complete culture shock. He's stunned by the sparkly and new cars, the sheer volume of clothes.
He calls it a language of sartorial excess.
And he sees the cities as albinic, completely stripped of plant life. It's the total opposite of the vibrant chaos of Aivu Ivu.
And the dreamers don't fare well in this new world.
Not at all. They're kept in this windowless room. They become agitated, fearful. They even destroy a terrarium turtle.
It's just too much stimulation. Too dry, too cold, not enough color.
The scientific environment that's supposed to reveal the truth is actually destroying the subjects that hold the secret.
But the core experiment, it works.
The mice that are fed the turtle material live on and on long after the control group dies. He publishes his paper in 1953, The Eternity Claim.
And it's met with total ridicule.
Hatred, even. They call it childish fiction. He's a pariah.
Until 1956.
When Adolphus Sereny, a very respected scientist, replicates the experiment with a turtle leg Norton smuggled out, and it works.
And just like that, everything changes.
Instantly. Sereny's success gives him total validation. Norton goes from being a pariah to a godlike creator.
But that validation comes with immediate, real-world consequences.
It does. Talent comes back furious. He's gotten a letter from the king of Uivu who says Norton's work has made his people look like madmen and idiots. Norton is banned from the island.
And he sees the curse playing out in his own lab.
Mua is now obese and silent. Eve won't even stand up. Talent confronts him about their decline. The myth of the Muukau is now just a clinical reality.
And when Norton goes back to Ivu Ivu in 1957, he sees the social wreckage.
He finds Fall's widow. She and her children are complete outcasts. Fall died, and the rumor that he became a Muukau.
Because of what Norton did.
And the widow, in her poverty, offers her children to Norton.
Which is just a deeply disturbing moment.
It is. And by the time he returns again in 1961, the island is unrecognizable.
It's been overrun.
By pharmaceutical companies. Pfizer, Lilly, Merck. Their camp smells of bacon and laundry detergent. They are stripping the island bare, trying to synthesize the longevity compound.
And Talent is gone.
Vanished without a trace. Just left his knapsack. The pharma guy said he seemed calm and contemplative before he disappeared. Norton fears he's just embraced the myth and is gone forever.
The destruction of the island is total.
The lake is scooped clean. No more turtles are ever found. The forests are leveled. Ivu Ivu is just gone.
And the people.
They're moved to Ivu, converted by Mormons, and they just fall apart. Alcoholism, disease. Norton watches it decline from this dangerous Eden into just another Micronesian ruin.
So having lost his scientific prize, Norton pivots. He becomes a collector.
A collector of children. He adopts 2 of Faye's children in 1968, almost on a whim. By 1980, he is 26. Eventually, he has 43.
And at first, this is seen as a heroic act.
Yes, it balances out the destruction. He even wins the Nobel Prize in 1974. He's seen as a great humanitarian.
His last and most important adoption is Victor in 1980.
He's on a trip and sees a man who he thinks might be the boy from the Eye in a Ritual trying to sell a mute boy. The man just shoves the boy into Norton's arms.
And Victor urinates on him on the flight home.
And Norton feels pity, which he notes is often the first step toward liking anyone.
But the collection starts to lose its appeal.
By the mid-'80s, he's just bored, resentful. He finds their consumption repellent. their problems petty. He feels he should be exempt from the selfless duties of parenthood.
His ego's just too big for it.
It is, and the tension finally comes to a head with Victor in 1994.
Victor, who is now 13, decides he won't answer to his white man's name anymore. He wants to be called Vi.
And Norton is absolutely furious. It's a slight to his dignity, a challenge to his authority. He's 65, and he feels he's too old to fight this ridiculous boy. He agrees, but only calls him boy.
The stage is set for a final confrontation.
And it happens on Christmas morning, 1994.
The night before, Christmas Eve, Norton is at his lowest point. He's just had a huge fight with his brother Owen about his parenting.
And as he's filling stockings, he seriously considers just leaving. Getting on a plane to Europe and abandoning all the children to foster care. It's a cold, logical, and deeply selfish impulse.
The only thing that keeps him there is his own anger.
Right. And on Christmas morning, Victor is being overly nice, hands some coffee. He's already opened the check Norton gave him.
And Norton, fueled by that cold anger, decides to force the issue. He calls him Victor.
And Victor doesn't answer. He just raises his chin. The other adults don't really get what's happening, but Norton knows. He walks over to him.
Grabs him by the arm.
And then he snaps. He hits him twice in the face with the flat of his palm.
And what he says is just. It's beyond cruel.
He unleashes everything. How dare you, you beastly insect, you nothing. I bought you out of kindness.
He reduces him to an object. A thing he acquired. He bought him.
The day's ruined. The older kids leave. Norton goes to sleep and he's secretly contented. Because Victor is now quiet and compliant, he got the control he wanted.
But that control is an illusion.
A complete illusion. Victor becomes passively obedient, goes to college, joins the track team. Norton pays for it all and rarely hears from him.
And then comes the spring day, Victor's sophomore year.
Norton is sick with the flu, resting in his garden, admiring the new leaves. He describes them as being like thin sheets of gold. He's in this little bubble of private enchantment.
So engrossed he doesn't hear the knock.
2 men come through the back door, Detective Banville and a younger officer. They ask for Abraham Norton Perina.
And he sees this white butterfly.
Flittering frantically near his face. And for a second, he thinks it's a warning just for him. He realizes, with this sinking dread, that he hasn't even asked them why they're here.
He goes inside, sees his own reflection, and tries to tell himself it's nothing.
But he knows. He knows it's not nothing. The circle has finally closed.
And the epilogue brings us back to the narrator in the present day.
They say they are very happy here. The companion is tending to Norton, gathering flowers for him while he serves his sentence. The story, his attempt to justify his life, is finally told.
So we have this entire tragic arc, the brilliant scientist who finds the secret to longevity.
But in the process, destroys an entire people, loses his mentor, and ruins his own life, ending in this single act of domestic violence.
The central question of Evu never really gets answered, does it? The turtle gives eternal life, but it also carries this curse that strips away your humanity, your ama.
It raises the question of what immortality is even worth if that's the price. Norton achieved a godlike discovery only to demonstrate its inherent horror.
And you have to wonder about his final act. He concludes on the island that all ethics are culturally relative based on that hyena ceremony.
So is hitting Victor, the boy he bought, just him creating his own cultural ritual, a desperate act to impose his own rules on his own collapsing little kingdom? Or was it just the inevitable end for a man who believed he had the right to own everything? Knowledge, people, children, things that were never meant to be possessed.
A final provocative thought for you to take away. What is the true moral cost of ambition when it decides it's above any and all universal laws?